Hello, this is Dr. Harrison, and this is the continuation of our lecture on the book of Matthew. Matthew, of course, the first in the New Testament Gospels, written by, according to traditional scholars, written by Matthew, the tax collector found in the story, and one of the disciples of Jesus. Now, we left off with the second discourse, and as we look at that, as it ends, we see Jesus coming to John the Baptist. John was questioning whether Jesus was actually the Messiah or not. And Jesus says to him, look at the works that are done. And we sort of see this as a confirmation of Jesus to John that he was the Messiah that he had been looking for and expecting. John, of course, was in jail because he had confronted Herod about his lifestyle where he took his brother's wife. Now we come to the third discourse, and this is the parables of the kingdom of God. And it's very interesting. Parables are fascinating because they're very simple stories. But we know that the best way for human beings to learn is to learn through simple stories, through aphorisms and other forms of simple ways of breaking down complex ideas so that people can sort of build their understanding around it. And one of the things that we see with Jesus, his parables, the disciples had a difficult time, and outsiders had a difficult time understanding exactly what they meant. And Jesus would explain it to them, and the disciples would ask questions about it. So these parables are ways of conveying very, very difficult, deep, complex ideas through these very simple stories that Jesus tells. Very fascinating that he did it that way. Matthew closes the third narrative by talking about the rejection of the Messiah. He asks, this is a very important part of Matthew where he asks, who do you say that I am? After other people are saying that I'm John the Baptist and others. And of course this is Peter's confession. Peter confesses, you are the Christ, you are the Messiah, you're the one that we are waiting for. And it says that Jesus says to Peter, it is upon this rock that I will build my church. And of course for the Roman Catholic Church, this means that Peter is the rock, he's the first pope. Peter is the foundation on which the church is built. For Protestant churches, it is the confession that is the rock, the foundation of the church, the confession that Jesus is the Messiah. Now we see that in this, Jesus is acknowledging again to his disciples that he is indeed the Messiah, the one they've been waiting for. So this brings us to the fourth discourse. And this is the instruction to the church. As the church comes together, it is to make sure that it comes together as a community. Again, church means gathering. It is an ecclesiastical aspect of religious life. And it comes from ekklesia, the Greek word, which means a gathering or coming together. And when they come together, they share koinonia, which is fellowship together, which is a binding together through common values and virtue and ideas and love. So when someone does not share in this, when someone is being disruptive or detrimental to the koinonia, Mark in in Matthew, gives instructions on what to do with someone. You're to you're to confront them, you're to bring a witness and confront them again, you confront them in front of the church, and then if they don't change their ways, then you release them from the fellowship, because it can become detrimental to the fellowship if you do not. Then we also see his Jerusalem ministry. He's starting to make his move toward Jerusalem. He tells his disciples that he is going to suffer and that they will watch him suffer. He enters into Jerusalem and he talks about the church, the gathering, the koinonia as the true Israel at this point, where, and this is rather interesting since Matthew is a very Jewish gospel, talks about the church actually being the true Israel, the true followers of God, because they follow the confession, they follow the Messiah in this respect. And he also gives these warnings against scribes and Pharisees, against those who are religious but have no real spirit, no love. Again, love and fellowship is the cornerstone of Christian understanding. He also talks about the destruction of the temple. This is why modern scholars believe that Matthew was written later and not before 70 AD, because Titus will come in and destroy Jerusalem and destroy the temple during that time. Also, this is a time when he talks about the parousia. The parousia means second coming of Jesus, and this is where the Christian church believes that Jesus will come again. Actually, Islam also believes in a second coming as well. So that Jesus says, I will come again. And of course, Paul and others will wonder about, well, when will this second coming be? And again, we know there's some recent movies that come out that talk about this second coming and the reappearance of Jesus on earth. Now, in the fifth narrative, we talk about the passion and the resurrection. Passion is the death and the suffering of Jesus. We see it as a miraculous sign. We see that after Jesus dies, one of the centurions of Romans, a hardened Roman, looks and says, truly this was the Son of God. We see that the tomb is empty. And so what has someone done with the body? And then we see the resurrection. Now, and there's also actually those who see Jesus and witnesses to the resurrection, that they see Jesus after his death. Now, the Jewish people try to discredit the resurrection, saying that his disciples came and got him. One of the problems with this is that it was guarded by Roman soldiers. And the Jewish people said, well, they were paid off. The problem is that when Roman soldiers are given a task to do, if they do not carry out that task, they are put to death. Therefore, what good is money? What good is a bribe if you know that you're going to be put to death for not fulfilling your duty? So that sort of falls on deaf ears at that time. There are a few other things that we see in Matthew in the end, and his ascension, his proclamation to go out and spread the gospel, to tell others, because again, the gospel is not, in the idea of the first century Christians, it is not a religious movement, it is not a religious idea, it is truth that God has contacted mankind, has sent light into the world, and they're to go out and tell everyone. So this is the pattern of Matthew. When we get together again, we're going to look at the book of Luke.